Hello and welcome to Michael and Ivanka's Grand Podcast, episode 153. Weekly podcast where we figure out what we think about absolutely everything. My name's Michael Forrest.
And I'm Ivanka Majic.
And this week we're trying out, the title is Moving Forward or Leaping Forward, or just the idea of, like, it feels like things, certainly in America, have moved backwards, but now they're able to move forwards again, and that just general, looking at what that is now.
Yes.
I wish we could move forward here in the UK, but we're definitely moving everything. I mean, there's a lot of things, like moving forward for us means something different for America. For us, it's customs forms, right? And
yes.
Nonsense. And then, what were you were talking about looking at the inauguration.
I watched the inauguration and I thought to myself that sort of the future's back on. It feels like we've spent the last few years just really just going backwards and not really caring about future at all. And
not
now
having a chance to think about it.
No,
really.
But now, and I think, obviously the President of the United States of America is not everybody's president and does not rule the world, but they are a huge influence on the world, so it doesn't matter what they're up to. So whilst I'm glad I'm not an American, or have been glad I wasn't an American for the last 4 years, because that must have been unbelievably stressful, it now feels like, okay, right, so... Where were we?
Let's get some pens. Let's get a stack of things.
New Post-its.
With everyone looking, let's look for a bit of inspiration. Yeah, figure out what's next.
And I think what I was saying earlier was as well the fact that actually, I am hopeful always, but I am hopeful that the last 4 years will make Biden a better president, because America will have seen what happens if you behave selfishly and use your power for wrong.
And also, like, what happens if you get complacent during something like an Obama administration and no one was Trump, campaigning, no one was doing anything.
But he got to power because of the fact that the whole of society was not considered in policies. There are a lot of angry people, and they didn't get angry over the course of a couple of years and a bit of internet poking. They got angry over probably, if you think about Rust Belts and things like that, over, long time of not having jobs, not having enough food, those kind of basics.
So we need to broaden our perspective to move forward, certainly. Can't do it with the blinkers on and expect everyone to step in line. Okay, let's roll some music. How's it going, Ivanka?
Well, I'm very tired today. Really.
Why?
Because we had to take the little dog to the vet yesterday to be neutered, and that meant going off the island and then so then we had lots of jobs to do. She's okay, but it's quite a major trauma, I think.
I mean, sounds pretty traumatic.
It is, especially for a girl dog versus a boy dog. It's more invasive, so it's a bit more anyway. So we did that, and then we also got some jobs done, and we ended up, because of the magic of measuring steps, I know that we walked about over 13 kilometres yesterday whilst killing time, and we took the van to have something fixed, and then we found a wood supplier, and it's all very, very so yes, I feel very tired. This morning I felt very tired. Yes, but that's and I can't finish myself. No, that was me filling, because I was trying to remember there was something else I was going to tell you that was better than I'm tired, and I've completely forgotten what it was.
Okay. Well, what's better than a podcast of filler?
Nothing. How are you, Michael?
You'll think of it while
I
I'm
will.
talking, no doubt. I'm also on the sort of like low energy side, but mainly because I've had quite an exciting week this week. So, I've got my app, my Shoot app, my camera app in the App Store, and that's been doing well. And then like a lot of these people that use the apps are like on the stream, on video all the time. So I should try and find a way to connect to them. So I created a quiz, which is in the app, and then a few people have added their Twitch names in there. So I just had this list of people, and on Wednesday I was having a bit of a sort of slow day and procrastinating because I've got to do some marketing. And I thought, this guy's just going live. I'm just going to have a look. I'm going to join in and say hi and introduce myself and say I made the app and, just see how it goes. So it was a bit of I had to sort of like pluck up the courage, but he was absolutely, he was like, seriously, wow, I use this app every day. I recommend it all the time. It was this Scottish guy. And that immediately there was like 50 people in his chat, which is quite a lot. It sort of starts moving quite quickly. But immediately someone made like a link so that now one of his commands in his chat, you go !camera and it goes to my app and just things like this. And then so I sort of stuck around for this stream, and then as he was every time I'd sort of like say something, he'd be like, oh hi, yeah, Michael, camera free, and like plug the app again in the chat. And I was like, okay, cool. And then in the middle of his stream he got raided by Limmy. So Bruce introduced me to Limmy, but he's a very good Scottish comedian, does a lot of streaming. So and a raid is where you've been streaming and you come to the end of your stream, you sort of send your chat over to another stream. So he raided this stream with like 2,000 people. And so suddenly this thing like went crazy. But then it meant that there was quite a lot of people watching that. And then I said I was going to go and do my music stream. And so then I started playing my music. But yeah, suddenly I start behind me hearing this ding, 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 and he's raided my stream with like 270 people or something, and suddenly I've got this huge audience, and it was really exciting, and it was really sort of like, I haven't played a gig that big for a long time, like, and not that many times altogether. And I know it's people at home just watching it on video, but like a lot of it's like there's more than one person watching, like in that room. Yeah. So yeah, I just had to rise to the challenge and not completely freak out. And I actually like managed to do a really like controlled, no kind of like mess ups. Didn't try and be too kind of like. I managed to not try and be so ambitious that it started like breaking the flow of the music. And because I'd sort of knew what sort of headspace they'd come from, I kind of knew how to keep that going in a way that if it was just random people, I wouldn't know where they were coming from. But yeah, so I played for like 2 hours, and I did a good like, give me a number and I'll make that the preset on it. Give me another number, I'll do that, and then we'll try and make it work, and sort of got it to work. So I did sort of 2 tracks, but yeah, it was great. And everyone was like saying nice things, and meanwhile they were sort of saying it went quite well. It was during the Biden inauguration, so that people were watching the Biden stuff with my sort of like slightly doomy soundtrack for the first part of it, and sort of saying it was sort of creating a moment. Like I wasn't looking at the Biden stuff, maybe I should have been. But yeah, so that was exciting, but like absolutely like takes it out of you. Like there's nothing that uses my whole brain, every part of me, than like playing, especially when I'm coming up with it on the spot. It's one thing to just perform something that you've done over and over again, but that's not really what I'm doing. I'm like listening and trying to like marshal music into existence from what's there, and it doesn't get boring and not make it kind of sound bad and out of tune and play the wrong notes and sing the wrong notes and all that kind of thing. But yeah, so yesterday morning I spent turning that into a video and getting the chat in as an overlay and kind of trying to sort of tell the story of how it felt to me that happening. So there's a video up on YouTube of it happening.
Out of curiosity, where this started was I was procrastinating a bit because I was supposed to be doing some marketing. How is what you did not marketing? I don't know,
marketing, this is marketing for something else that's harder to sell. So, but yeah, like, but it's true, like, one of the reasons, Dungood partly came out, and I haven't really followed through on this, but I was streaming every day and I wanted to sort of show what I was doing, and I was having ideas about like this as a streamer tool, and I felt, because I was talking to people and they were sort of asking me what my little to-do list thing was, that was quite a good opportunity, because there's nothing like talking to a real, like, especially if one person's on video, like chat is, the chat streamer thing is a funny relationship, but it's definitely sort of a direct connection with people, and they can say something to you and you answer, and like, so yeah, as marketing it's great. So it's tricky because I keep changing what my stream is, and with music I was trying to sort of push people to Patreon, but the thing I'm marketing is but the designer I've been working with for changes has been pushing me to make it free. And I'm like, I don't want to. I was like working through that and like trying to think. And I'm coming around to, I'm like, okay, I guess it has to be free to download and all that in-app purchase nonsense. But yeah, that was something I was trying to kind of come up with an email, up with a blog post saying, it's free and here's why. And I'm not bitter.
I've remembered my thing.
Oh yes, I can remember.
Solar panels.
Solar panels.
Yes, I finally got a quote for getting... I found someone to supply solar panels, which is then... But I've kind of committed to it. It's now a project. It's started. I've got one proper quote in. I've sent it to a friend of mine in Australia who has a firm that fits solar panels. So he sent me back some questions. Like,
right.
That seems a bit big for your roof, because he has been to my house, and... there is a microinverter has no business in a project like yours. I was like, shit, now I need to go look at what a microinverter is. But anyway, so I've got some proper questions now. So this year there will be solar panels on my house, which I'm quite excited about, because I think not only does it, I think it's one of those social proof climate activist kind of actions. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between... like we talked about the other week about stories and showing people what you're doing. It's if you simply, I don't know if everyone notices that I wear the same clothes pretty much all the time, other than just as a, she doesn't see, she's been wearing that dress for years. But having solar panels on your roof should provoke some questions, at least. Hopefully. I imagine from my nosy neighbours, they tend to have many questions about what we're doing.
If you have to you have to blaze the trail, don't you? Yeah. And then other people can just ask you how you did it, and you can give them the easy version. Yeah, you've done the research, you've spent the time on it, so you're making it happen. I think sometimes the hardest thing is just you don't know what you'd even do. Yeah,
I mean, and I did inquire about 2 years ago with a local firm, and the answer they came back with was, I just couldn't invest the time. I even phoned them up and went, what? And then I was like, I can't process this right now. It's too much, too complicated. Because, add to the general fact that this is a specialist subject, the fact that Croats, with some rare exceptions that I don't encounter too often, are really at customer service. Yeah, so there's not like this idea. It's like, well, do you want it? It's a bit like that. What?
Okay.
There you go.
Right. Subject. It's 17 minute 17.
We haven't even started.
Right. So what's it called? Moving forward. We've so reculer pour mieux sauter. As they say in France. No, this was behind the scenes. Ivanka wanted this quote. Sometimes you got to back off to better blow up. Is the Google Translate as I'm saying it.
It's meant to be better leap forward or be propelled forward.
Like so the US. The first thing I thought when you said that, like the US has. I'm pretty upset that in the time that the US has had the disastrous thing and exhumed it or got rid of it from its system, we have only just started with our Brexit nonsense. We're only just starting our real Brexit journey and all this stuff going on there. So well, I guess we'll have to focus on America, but we can talk a little bit about. Yeah, that's definitely things to talk about Brexit-wise moving forward that I could talk about. Where should we focus first?
Well, first a little thing. We watched the inauguration in our house, a little story, shall we call it? And the 5-year-old was like, it's boring. And so, but we were like, this is Biden. She went, what, Joe Biden? and then we were watching the live thing, and then at some point they showed Trump coming out of an airplane. They said Trump. She just sat there, boo, without any provocation. So I think we've done quite well as parents to get to this point. So we had some chats about things. That was good. But yes, I think what struck me as I was watching it, particularly with the people present and the I don't know if you've seen much of it, but Amanda Gorman, a young black woman poet, right, she did that poem. I mean, you just saw her face come on and you're like, right, okay, this is totally different. Never mind Lady Gaga, never mind J-Lo, never mind. And when she started talking, she sort of went, Mr. President, Dr. Biden, Madam Vice President. It's like this is different. Yeah. Substantially, visibly different. And it made me think, right, game on. We're back into potentially preserving some kind of future that's livable.
Yeah, and it's the world we thought we were in the Obama era.
But we were wrong.
But we didn't realise that there was all these people that weren't living in that world. And it's so now we get to sort of look at that, and instead of just kind of getting excited and happy and moving on with other aspects of our lives, well, Americans doing that, I think there's very much a sense of, okay, let's not mess this up again. Let's not blow this again by sort of getting complacent and sort of forgetting that let's bring this awareness we now have of all these people that are, willing to go to the extent of believing QAnon conspiracy theories to explain their unhappiness. Because, I mean, I guess in some real sense they have been ignored by this sort of rainbow world that the rest of us want to live in.
There's a bit of me that wishes that I was better, or I was braver, and I was more able to go, right, I hear what you're saying, and I'm not judging you, but can we have a conversation about this? And I can do it with very, very few people, and they have to be people I know. And so I don't know how we do that, but I think it's an important part of how we make sure that future actually happens.
Yeah, well, one big thing that has happened, I feel this is such an amazing number that I should Snopes it before sort of repeating it. But this thing of misinformation on social media dropping by 70% since Trump's accounts were shut down, and I guess all those other accounts. I saw this number. I'll find the quote, and just if it's definitely a Snopes, this is not true thing, I'll put in a voice over here. But I think the first step, turning off this social media fire hose of misinformation that people are being exposed to, because how can you, when everything they're seeing is this made up Russian bot conspiracy theory stuff, there's literally no way of that they don't have the same context. But because a lot of that was basically sort of militarized misinformation, that now that Facebook and Twitter and social networks are being shut down, there's nowhere for it. It's harder for that to get out now. All those associated right-wing accounts are now being shut down. I think that's a huge step, and bringing that sort of responsibility. That, I mean, I was unhappy with the level of the responsibility that the BBC was taking pre-Brexit. Like when that Brexit happened, the first place I looked was like, well, I'm just sick of the BBC putting Farage on every other day in the name of balance. But actually, like, that really wasn't where it was being fought. And at least if social media had that level of accountability, then maybe, we wouldn't have this hellscape in the same way. But as the new technology still isn't being sort of regulated in that way. No. It's not being held accountable in that way.
Hellscape. Yeah, it's a hellscape. I was listening to, listening to the news is already, or like getting my headlines in the morning is already more pleasant. It's God. Anthony Fauci goes on the press release, and it's like, this new what did he say? It's like, this is different. You're allowed to say you don't know the answer, rather than making it up when asked about something. It's just it's like, whoa, like this idea that learning is okay and not knowing, but having an answer based on something is really important, not just sort of made up.
Yeah, being able to admit the real problems, and like this weird thing of like making up problems to blame instead of looking at the real problems. Because and I wrote this down as a thought that I had, because that was all there, that was all happening for a reason, because something is wrong. Like, we all agree, even with the most fervent QAnon, we agree that something's wrong, that one person should not control like a significant percentage of the world's wealth. But it's sort of, a lot of people have gone the other way to explain that same feeling, that same awareness that something isn't quite right. I can say, like, it's neoliberalism and this sort of like cult of individual and capitalism run amok and deregulation, all those things that have led to this completely polarized wealth inequality and all the problems that happen as a result of that. How can we have so much wealth, and how can it be going to so few people? And if you look at it like that, it's just a very difficult problem to solve. But it's exactly the same problem that the conspiracy theorists have been trying to solve. But for some reason, they can't believe what's in plain sight. They have to kind of make up some more like science fiction story around it instead.
How can you believe it when you can't physically fathom the wealth of Jeff Bezos? How can you, do you know what I mean? Like, if you can't picture it, if you can't understand it, I can't, I'm brilliant, I can't understand it. But, like, if you can't picture it in your head, how can you possibly believe it, or even believe that that's a problem? I think it's I read this article, I may have already mentioned it on the podcast, about there was a Croatian fact check site, and they spoke about anti-vaxxers, and one of their conclusions, because it was a well-researched piece, it was a bit of an essay, it's available in English, where they spoke about the fact that when we use the term anti-vaxxer too broadly, so there's a very small percentage of people who are actively and convinced anti-vaxxers, and then there's these whole bunch of people who don't know enough and are afraid and are confused by the amount of information available that is not always presented in a way that is digestible. It's like me with my first solar quote, like, I don't understand, so I'm going to run away.
And it is a move forward to maybe not just take everything as gospel that every authority figure tells you. That's definitely a step forward overall. But you've got to be prepared to then, you've got to develop your faculties a bit more. You've got to develop your critical skills of being able to look at a website that's telling you something and sort of see that's problematic and sort of, I guess, like, you need to be asking for clearer explanations instead of just, and this is something that can be done, right? Like, I don't know what could be a better vindication of a vaccine than, like, COVID infections going down and the virus hopefully going away. It's miserable looking at the COVID stuff still here. And, like, Sharon's just, like, having a horrible time, like, not being able to go back to Italy, like,
Yeah, I had Nick and I literally had the conversation last night, like, how long, at what point do we decide that we want to see our parents regardless? Like,
Yeah, well, and I think Sharon's very much kind of the, I'm sort of saying, like, can we, I'll do it, but, like, can we, I feel like we need to wait till March at least.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to see this vaccine start doing something, because I'm still just, this is still just unknown at this point. But it still hasn't
where
come
this
down at all.
COVID and vaccine are a good analogy for where we started. The vaccine being so Britain is currently ahead of Europe in rolling out the vaccine, and so March might be it. And here I've heard noises on the radio that say things like, we want the vaccine rolled out in time for the summer season, because they do want to recoup some of the season. But unless the whole of Europe, the whole of the world is vaccinated, it's still like we had the conversation, which was like, in what month do we think we might be able to stop for a moment and go, do you know what, we can afford to take 2 months of not working, not doing anything, get to England, isolate, make sure that we're not going to infect, all of whatever's necessary, so that we can actually go and see our parents. I just think it's so much unknown.
Yeah. And just to bring it back down, bring it back to the moving forward subject is like, I feel like the fact that we are moving forward, even though we can't see it yet. I think like the vaccinations are happening. The more people get vaccinated, like we'll start to see a change, I hope, unless just we've already had the like nightmare. There's a new, more virulent strain thing happen in the middle of this. And it's just this race, this arms race. And you just hope that it sounds like it's as long as something even more devastating doesn't emerge, which there's no, not would. But you hope that we're moving forward overall. Now that, and we have been from the start. Like there was a lot of work. That vaccine didn't come from nowhere. There was a lot of effort put into that vaccine. So sometimes it's like you're moving forward, but you just can't see it. You just can't see it yet. And I suppose that's, completely frivolous, but my weekly money report, my weekly analytics reports that I'm doing, is just a way that I can start to feel more confident in decisions that I make by just, because I can't, it's rare that you get like an overall sense of progress. So you have to like look on a more microscopic level to find it. So if you start looking at, okay, what's my conversion rate is 0.25%. If I can get that to 1.5%, that'll feel great. It's sort of but it's not exactly yelling. So I have to go looking for it to find a sense of progress.
But I think there's some things. What you reminded me of is that gap. What's it called? Gapminder, and the way he talked about the fact that we're in, overall there is a better quality of life for more people than there have been ever in history, and all this, and infant mortality is down. There are lots of, but you have to step away. You have to sort of zoom out to see that progress. But it doesn't necessarily feel like your life is any better. And there's that measure between, overall, I know solar panels are good for the planet, but if I can understand this email, or if I don't understand what I need to do next. So it's like, not to be too frivolous about it, but.
And a lot of like happiness is just, you just need to choose what scale to look at, really. And you can make people angry easily. You just have to pick a scale at which that makes them unhappy. But then other people will be looking at a different scale or different type of dimension to things. Forgetting about like America, all that thing. Now Brexit's happened. Like I thought we could just talk about what we're, what are you planning on doing that next? What's your me literally? Yeah, you and the family. He's
Me and
talked
the
about trying to get back to visit, but are you kind of
Well, we're here
you're
for now.
bedding in into
we're bedding
into
in,
this
but
island?
primarily that is more guided by COVID than it is by Brexit, because we're in this unique position really where I'm dual citizen, so it's materially makes very little difference. Except that some things now, so it's a
What's
bit.
Nick's status?
He's got temporary residency on account of his missus.
Okay.
So, but he doesn't have. But we have not overcomplicated it. Like, he's not looking to have a work permit. He's not looking to, he's here. Do you know what I mean? So we
That's
are
the thing,
again.
yeah.
He's not having to, because he's in charge of house and child at the moment. In any case, he's not working, but because he's not looking for work here and won't count as unemployed and won't count as all these other things, it does make it. We're self-funding, as it were.
Yeah. Okay.
So it makes
That's
it easier.
interesting.
We're paying into the local health system now, So the complication for me really is trying to work out where to be tax resident.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I'm really, that's the. I know obviously I need to pay taxes, but I'm not paying them twice. I'm not that generous.
Well, I mean, I'm judging you for that.
Please do.
You should.
What about where you're at?
Yeah, like I'm really like I've been trying to on the subject of like the timescale thing, because the immediate present is so just I've been trying to sort of work with Sharon to sort of maybe can we like start looking at that plan to move forwards, and if we can just do little things towards that, then we'll feel like we're getting somewhere that's going to be a better future. And our latest thing is like I want to just get us out to Italy and stay there. We've talked about like this little village Vigevano, but I think we'd go a bit crazy. I've mentioned it, but Sharon's mum suggested Genoa as a place which looks very beautiful. And might be a bit more city-ish than just like a town, but then that sort of solves the, even before COVID, like having these reservations about like flying back every like 6 to 8 weeks to Italy, like that was starting to feel, and being able to like travel and those things, and I wanted to, it had been impossible for me to even think about it, but now it's like I've got a bit of money if we want to go on holiday, as long as it's not too crazy, but. I just think it wasn't feeling sustainable to live in London and keep visiting Italy all the time, and so I'm kind of sick of London, to be honest. So let's just move out there, and then we can be near her parents, and she can sort of feel like she's getting a lot more quality time. Hopefully, she doesn't disappear every other day, but like and it just that it'll be so much cheaper to live than and just you get that nice Mediterranean, nice produce and all that, and it's not all exactly, and just I'll brush up my Italian, and I've had a trial run doing Germany, and I'm up for it. So it's just like, okay, what are the steps? Obviously, like Brexit makes that harder. Although as
you have to get married.
Well, yeah, and we can do that. I haven't got any objection to it. It just seems like some admin,
There is a clause, though, in the Brexit deal that says that to avoid people marrying Europeans, British people marrying Europeans for their papers. That's how it's always been for the rest of the world. And now it's flipped. So it's not, but then again, you're not going to be in a position where you're turning up in Italy expecting Italy to feed you.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say, was like, but anyway, luckily, I mean, I have 2 Irish grandparents, like one on each side. So I can apply for an ancestry passport anyway, so I can get an EU passport. But that, even looking into that, it's all shut down because of COVID anyway, but it's like it'll probably take like 18 months to. So I was talking to my aunt to get my granddad's like birth date, and like but it was funny because like we had this WhatsApp chat where like I'm sort of asking if anyone else has sort of started, and I know an uncle has, but it's like, so I've got the 4 siblings, like there's 4 of us that have the same mother and father, and so our mothers, so we've got like an Irish grandparent on both sides. And my half sister has only got the one on the one side, and then I think because there's a lot of other aunts and uncles, I don't know what the birth certificate situation is for that. So I'm like, well, I'll go for the other one, and it's a bit more sort of deep island as well. So it's I forget the name of the place. Annette will be cross. I did put it in my maps. I do know what it is. But if I can, Annette was like, how many, when you order a copy of the birth certificate, can you ask for like
5?
2? And I was like, should I just get 10? Should I see if they'll do me 10? Just send them to like my brother, sister. But my poor stepsister, like, she hasn't got any ancestry potential. She's married to a British person, and it's like, she can't do anything now. It's just all that has been taken away. So that sucks. And I think, when you're like, well, at least I can get an Irish passport, you forget that lots of people, and even like if my sister got one, like her partner wouldn't be able to get it in the same way. So it's like,
what happens? There's all these. It is complicated in some ways. I mean, Britain, the British rules used to be. So if my sister is, a British citizen, born outside of Britain to a British mother. My dad was naturalised by then, but she wasn't born in the UK. Her children would not automatically get British citizenship if they were also born abroad.
Right.
Whereas my children would, because I was born in Britain. However, with my Croatian passport, I was not born in Croatia. My child is not born in Croatia, but we're all both Croats. No questions asked. Welcome to the fatherland.
It's like my one of my biggest problems with Brexit was always like, how can you think it's going to save any money when it's going to obviously create so much new admin? So much admin that you didn't have to do before, like that for me, like, and also, and it's sort of like one of those things, like the longer you wait, the more streamlined it will get, and the more they'll kind of like, you just kind of like scan your thing and it'll do a thing. But for now, everything's up in the air. No one knows how to do anything. Everyone's having to pay customs duties on things they ordered from the EU, and like everything's more expensive. And like no one knows what's, it's like we're just having to figure a load of stuff out that was, talking about moving forward, like we're just like talk about like moving back and distractions and stuff, that even just getting out of the EU, and now like figuring out how it's just like all time taken away from what now America gets to move forwards with Joe Biden gets to start moving forwards with. We're just like scrambling around with absolute nonsense.
Totally. I was looking that on the subject of distractions and scrabbling around. I'm a Greenpeace member, so I got the newsletter thing, and the British government have passed, like, re-allowed some pesticide that kills bees.
Hooray.
And it's like, come on. I don't care if a few at the top made some money out of this on a hedge fund. Fine, go for it. But don't start everything up on
but all of this stuff that's controlling that those people don't want is stuff that stops their dream of endless economic the fairy tale, as Greta puts it. I'm glad that she's been saying those lines, like this fairy tale of endless economic growth, that they all, like, you talk to anyone like that, they just seem to believe it. Like, they don't seem to know that it's a complete myth. Well, it's just based not in reality, and all these things. The sustainability is just trying to bring it back to reality. That's what's going to move forward. All the toxic stuff. Yeah,
and some things you can't unpick. If you've killed all the bees are dead. Yeah. I know it's a terribly, like, I don't know what the word is.
Fatalistic.
Way of putting it. But like, there are some things that you can't unfuck once you them up. They're like, sit. And those are the things. So, it's like, and I think, with going, Biden's executive orders and everything, brilliant that the American system just gives him a chance to go, no, we're back in the Paris climate agreement. No, you can't do that anymore. No. And that's fine. That's lovely and wonderful. But we've got, there's there's so much of that sneakily being done in the UK as well that we don't even get to scrutinise in the same way. And, you know, it's... So anyway, I think it's... and I say we, somebody's not there anymore, you know, at the moment, but don't worry, I'm coming back. I still live in Brighton.
Okay, if you say so. All right, thanks for listening. If you like the podcast, go to grabpodcast.com. If you if you support us on Patreon, you can get a video episode each week, and you can get that a day early, a day-ish. You know, like sometime on Monday instead of now early on Tuesday, because I've edited it so it can come out first thing.
See.
But yeah, like we'll appreciate the. I think it's said to not make the minimum contribution less than $3 on Patreon. So I think we're going to say like $3 really a month. But you know, we put some. You know, if you enjoy it, why not? If you've got money, if you've got a big heart and you've got money, you know. What's the problem? I'm such a bad salesperson. How can people find you, Ivanka?
People can find me at Ivanka on Twitter, where my Twitter notifications are getting mildly, gently more tolerable as with every day of the new presidency.
As she slinks away for now.
Yes.
Cool. You can find me at michaelforrestmusic.com, at goodtohear.co.uk, or you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/michaelforrest. And that's it. Tell your friends. See what you think.
Please.
Oh, you join our Slack as well, and we'll ignore your messages. So no, we don't ignore. We always look, but sometimes it's a bit too meaty.
Yes.
Have to make time for it. All right. So we'll see you next week anyway. Take care.
Bye.
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 Done.